All right, welcome to 2023. And welcome to the Null channel. Welcome to the Null News. And I hope that you've had a fantastic last week. And you know what? Today's going to be kind of short. Not a whole lot happened, but we're going to cover the topics that happened. As always, we're going to start with security. We're going to jump right into then the cloud news, which is going to be super short. 2023 New Year's resolution: learn to speak English. And then we're going to go on to some other random news. Our topic for this week was underrated projects, underrated open source projects. So that was our topic for today. Welcome, Russell. Happy New Year's. And so we're going to be talking about those open source projects that we thought were underrated for next week. So for our open source projects for next week, I wanted to do what are going to be not the most underrated, but what you think is the most pivotal. I'm making a video on it for early in January. I'm hoping to release it. And I want to see what you guys have as what is going to be some of the more pivotal open source projects. They can already be a large project. That doesn't mean it. It's kind of like what open source projects to learn for 2023. That's what I'm doing for a video. I'd love to get your guys' takes on that. So for next week, what do you guys think as, the open source projects to learn in 2023? Now, we do a lot of cloud stuff. It doesn't have to be about cloud. It doesn't have to be about microservices. It doesn't have to be about those things. But that's what I do a lot of. So it's where my focus is. All right. One of the 12 days that the US and UK date formats are aligned. Oh yeah, it's a new year. Let's see if this ever since like 2019, I'm like, it's a new year. Let's see if this year can be a better year, and then something else happens. So let's see if 2023 can't be that good year. But I feel like a big recession is coming. Possibly a global recession. So, we'll see. I still have high hopes. Let's try to make the best out of it that we can. All right. Let's jump into security. There was a couple things that came up that I found. So we'll talk about it. The first one reminds me about how important supply chain security is. So the W4SP stealer discovered in multiple PyPI packages under various names. So the Python package index, what's commonly called as PyPI, at least I call it PyPI. Is that what everybody else calls it? I think it's PyPI. I call it PyPI. Anyways. So multiple ones were, so there were 16 modules that were discovered to have this. So if you're using PyPI, you need to be careful. This is kind of a big deal, and yeah. So anyways, I don't use Python a whole lot. I write small scripts, so I do use some Python packages. But it's really important to understand where your packages come from, who made them, and the security that they're working under to secure those projects. So anyways, apt, again, hackers turned to malicious Excel add-ins. We talked about apt. This is when we're talking about apt hackers, we're not actually talking about like apt-get and apt install from your Debian-based installers. If you're Ubuntu, we're talking about a group of hackers that go by APT. Maybe I should say APT hackers. These are a Chinese state-backed hacking group that they've been around for a long time. Anyways, macros in Excel and Word. I don't know. This is an old one. Let's move on. I mean, it's not an old one. It's a new one. It's brand new, but this is like beating a dead horse. Look, Windows, they're so powerful. Excel, Windows, Word, those macros are so powerful because they allow you to program these applications, so I get it. but letting you run arbitrary code, just running arbitrary code on your machine is just never great. Fraught with peril. Fraught with peril. All right, so let's go back to everyone should install cargo deny and use it. You know what? That's absolutely true. I like it. Hackers breach Okta's GitHub repository, steal source code. So, I mean, if you're doing proper defense and layers, this isn't that big of a deal. I mean, it's a big deal to Okta, but not big deal to people that use Okta-based products, because if they have the code, it doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to penetrate. Now, obfuscation can be used as a form of security, but it shouldn't be your only form of security. So the only thing that reading through this and a few of the other reports that I just verified this with, it doesn't seem that any user data was stolen or their systems were breached. This was just GitHub. Some token was stolen to use to access their GitHub repositories. I haven't seen anything of Okta's user or consumer data, so that's good. The crypto wallet BitKeep was hacked for 1 million in Polygon tokens. So it's nice they're reimbursing 100% of the tokens that were stolen. That's good on their part. But yeah, use these unregulated financial techs carefully. Use them carefully. All right, the CISA warns of active exploitation of Jasper Reports vulnerabilities. Actually, we talked about Jasper Reports a while ago because it was added to the CISA's list. Yeah, okay, list. I don't know why list took me so long to come up with, but these are old flaws. But I guess they actually are watching active exploits even today. This is why it's so important to actually just patch your and upgrade your software. I don't know how many exploits could actually be solved by people just patching their software, their OSs, because this is 3 years old and they're seeing active exploits. So I don't use Jasper Reports. Not me. But yeah. Patch your software. And you know, honestly, the reason I even bring these up is because it's not that I think that any of us use this piece of software. It's the fact that this happens to all pieces of software. No matter who's writing it, you're going to write something that can be exploited. It's just going to happen. And the thing is, when you make a patch for it, everybody just needs to get that patch. And I think that's why it's really important from the get-go to have a patching strategy, to have an update strategy, and to have a strategy for when a new CVE comes out. And so, yeah, I don't know that, again, anybody uses this piece of software. It's not about this piece of software. It's more of understanding how prevalent these types of things are. And you're absolutely right, Russell. You're absolutely right that having the source code does allow you to run vulnerability things on the source code. That's why I say obfuscation is a form of security. It's not, and it shouldn't be the only security you have. Oh, they're going to be lost in this maze. They'll never find their way to anything valuable. That's a horrible stance to take. What you have to do, and that's why it's security in depth. Onions, I like to go to the onion thing where there's a lot of layers of security. And obfuscation can be a valid layer, but it's only a layer, and it's not a very good layer either. But you're absolutely right. All right. This wasn't really. This next one isn't really a vulnerability, but I found it. I want to say kudos to Mozilla, but they finally fixed an 18-year-old CSS bug in Firefox. It wasn't a security vulnerability. It was just how text aligned. I didn't know where else to put it, so I put it in security because we talk about a lot of bugs here, and it was a bug. It was a bug. Didn't do this thing right here. This first letter pseudo element. Yeah. You know what else doesn't do CSS correctly? Me. But that's beyond the point. Let's move on. One of the things that I did want to point out was that the HR 7535 Quantum Computing Cybersecurity Preparedness Act was released by Congress, was signed into law. I wanted to cover it just really quickly. It's kind of a long read, and it's kind of boring. Mostly boring. First off, do we still use this font? Is this literally what my goodness, this looks like Declaration of Independence. It's almost impossible to read for somebody like me, but going through this painful document, it doesn't actually bring any law that mandates a change of algorithms. But more importantly, if you go through and read this, it mainly brings up that we will have to, for our federal agencies, and if our federal agencies are doing it, probably your banking should follow suit, and probably everything else should follow suit, is that our cryptography is going to need to change. So this is the 3rd day of January 2022. This is when it began. It didn't get signed until recently. Yeah, I was gonna say it was December 21st. I was gonna say it was very recently, but I guess it was proposed almost a year ago. Anyways, yeah, basically this is just a warning. As the prevalence of quantum computing increases, we're going to need to change our algorithm. There's already, and I already did a stream on or I already did a thing on the algorithms, but there are new algorithms out there that are supposed to be quantum resistant. Now, how good those algorithms actually are, we'll have to see when quantum computing actually is more prevalent. I'm sure that there'll be some rapid iterations before that happens, but there's actually nothing, this law didn't actually mandate anything. So there's no actual change as of yet. This is more like a forewarning law. I'll say it a forewarning law. I don't know. Yeah, that's what it is. Foreboding law. Anyways, that was passed. So, yeah. That was all of our cybersecurity news. Did you guys see anything else in the cybersecurity realm? Let me catch up on chat. All the 12th century monks will be pleased. Their super capital letter is now fixed. Yeah. Yes. Anybody that's wondering, we did cover this. Mozilla fixed this. Their super capital letter. So all monks that use the web are now super pleased. I guess monks and like the United States government. Oh, I guess it's not the first letter in the United States government. My goodness. This font. I need to propose. First thing I do when I go for Congress is propose a law that gets rid of this font. It's probably a proprietary font. Like, we probably have the trademark for it, knowing the United States government. All right, let's jump into cloud news. This is going to be the shortest cloud news absolutely to date. So bear with me. I was surprised. Amazon actually released some stuff. Now, I'm assuming these things were released prior to this last week. And they just had announcements already planned in the pipeline. That's my guess. That's my honest guess. But as you can see, Amazon Translate doubles its synchronous or real-time text translation limits to 10,000 bytes. I thought this was worth bringing up because doubling is a pretty big deal, and if you're using this and hit that, I thought it might be important. I actually haven't used Amazon Translate, so I can't really tell you if this bit barrier was a big deal or not. I'm not really sure how hard it would be for, I guess it allows you to translate more text. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Amazon Connect reduces outbound rates to the Caribbean. Again, hasn't ever affected me, but if you have outbound and a lot of outbound going to the Caribbean, so probably if you're like a big okay, I won't make jokes about a crypto exchange that might have been in the Caribbean. You might get some help there. AWS config now supports 13 new resources. This is actually really, really useful. AWS config is actually really powerful. I would say it's something that a lot of people don't use and should be using. Maybe everybody uses it, but maybe it was just me. Don't know. I think you should look into AWS config. It now supports 13 more resources types, which is really awesome. So it allows you to manage more things now, or config of more things now. And the last thing was announcing the reserved nodes for Amazon MemoryDB for Redis. So basically, this is their managed Redis, Amazon's managed Redis. And it now allows you to have reserved nodes. So this, if you don't know, AWS reserved nodes, GCP and .NET, also .NET, Azure, both have these ideas of reserved nodes. It's basically, it allows you to get a massive discount, up to 50%, but you have to sign a 3-year contract. You're going to say, I'm going to use this for at least the next 3 years. I think this is underutilized. It's a little bit scary sometimes for people because they're like, well, what happened if my demand shrinks? And that's a valid thing. Or let's say I shift off to a different instance types or whatnot. First, GCP actually has a really nice way of handling that, and I think their way is better than AWS's, although it was just released like a month ago. But what you should do or try to target doing is at first just have a quarter of your current demand as reserved instances. It's going to save you money on that quarter of instances, and you can expand that to 50% of your current demand as reserved instances. So you're able to leverage it slowly as you continue to scale. Yeah, so Russell, you that was 100% my joke. Was if you're part of SBF's family or close colleagues. Oh. Anyways, yeah. Amazon has you covered. It's like they knew they were going to need more data in the Caribbean. Anyways, sorry. Well, I'm not really sorry. They scammed a lot of people out of their hard-earned money. I can't say that I didn't tell you so, but I did tell you so. But I still feel for the people that got scammed. All right. Let's jump on to Azure and GCP. We're going to cover them pretty much just as quickly. But Azure, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Released nothing. I didn't see a whole lot. I did bring up one thing in Azure that I thought I would bring up since I missed it when it was originally released. But not .NET 7 was released. This kind of goes hand in hand. I guess it was in November 8th. I'm sorry. I know that I talked about the release candidate, but I never actually talked about the release. And if you're big in Azure, I know that .NET is big in Azure, and .NET developers are big in Azure. So I thought I would bring this up. .NET 7, I don't really know. I'm not covering what came out. I'm sure that these things are fantastic. I don't really know about them. So hopefully they're really great. Web 5 looks really great for yeah, I think we're past Web 3 and we're ready to go Web 4, Web 5. Yeah, anyways, the same can be said for GCP. There was literally not even a thing released for week of December, so they're pretty dead. These clouds have had not a whole lot going on. That being said, along with .NET's 7 release, there was a Go 119 release that I never covered, and I feel bad about doing that because I do a lot with Go, covered a decent amount in Go, and I should have covered it. I think Go 119 you should upgrade to if you're using 118. If you're using generics and you're using Go, you need to upgrade because there is up to a 20% performance gain on generics. Now, I would say generally the generics in Go are not a zero cost abstraction like they are in Rust, which is one of the reasons why Rust is so fantastic. But you should try to avoid generics in Go 118. They can actually have some startlingly bad performance characteristics. But Go 119 actually brings some other performance boosts, especially around memory. There's a famous, and I shared it with you guys as an engineering blog of the week of Netflix that saved like 60% of their compute cost by optimizing their Go garbage collector. And so basically in 119, there is optimizations for the garbage collection. So they actually released this garbage collector has soft memory limits now, this is almost 100% targeting containers. And there is this new garbage collection guide to help you around their garbage collection. So I definitely, if you're big into Go and done a lot, I would read this guide for sure. And if you're on 118, 118 is a garbage release. You need to go to 119 right now. Right now. And that's it for our cloud news. That was it. Are Azure or GCP going to do a special deal for Bernie Madoff or Charles Ponzi's families? Are they doing a special deal for SBF's families? Oh, I get it. No, it's playing on the earlier joke. Oh gosh. I have made somebody upset, and I'm sorry. Not really sorry. I'm gonna take that back. That I'm not sorry about. All right. I only have one engineering blog this week. And then I have some general channel news because I'm doing a live stream. It was supposed to start yesterday, but I had some family stuff come up, so it didn't start yesterday. Sorry about that. I am sorry about that one. Really wanted to do it. The wife said absolutely not. And so I said, okay, absolutely not. But it's going to happen Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Eastern time. So not real great for people in Europe. I'm going to try to do a Saturday, but I'm not pledging to do that. So yeah, it is what it is. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll do some early morning ones. Those could be fun. All right. So, microservice integration done right using contract-driven development. I actually really like contract-driven development. At least contract development. Sometimes when you do like test-driven development, you can get funky trying to write tests before you wrote code, and then you write interface anyways, and that interface is actually technically code, and so you're not actually doing like interface-driven, test-driven development, which then is a little funky. And I think you could get into the same problem with like contract-driven development where everything has to be a contract first. But I like the premise, and it's actually one of the things that we're going to do later on in the Rust one, in the Rust lessons, is we're going to do a little contract development for our CLI and API. We're going to do a little integration testing and stuff with that with Rust. So I'm really excited about that, and I found this. If you're new to it, this was like a cool article that you can read on it. Just some of the pros, cons, mostly pros. This person's obviously biased. But yeah, I was excited about that. So I will put this as a link in the description afterwards. So if you want to read up on it, you can. And yeah, so that brings me to kind of the news about the channel. What's going on, what we're doing. I'm going to try to take 2023 a little bit more seriously. I had so much going on this year. I didn't really take it too seriously. I tried to do what I could, and that was what I did. I have worked all of December on a new Rust class. And I know some of you have helped me. It's starting out very beginner oriented, and I know a lot of you already know Rust, but I would love your feedback on the early episodes. I've never really made a class. I do educational content, but it's like one-off stuff. And so I really want that critical feedback, and I'm opening up to critical feedback. You know, if you're if you've been around, you know that I'm very accepting to critical feedback. Obviously, don't be mean, but I really do want it. I'd like to make the best Rust class that's out there, and I think I can do it if I have your guys' help. So if that class goes well and helps a lot of people, I'll try to do some more formal class things. That's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do some formal class things and then some more fun videos. I'm going to do a video on my really smart sound panels that are back there that are still sitting on the ground because I've been working on this Rust class. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and take this a little bit more seriously. All the content that I make on my YouTube channel is probably going to be done on those Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those are the nights that I work on this stuff anyways for you all. So I figured I might as well just stream that stuff, at least what I can of it. So yeah, you should join me. That being said, those are going to be, I'm going to try to use this thing, Restream. It's like $16 a month or something. Yeah, $16 a month. $16 a month, and I'm going to try to stream it to both Engineering with Merrick and Claven X, which is just that's my gamer tag. So if you want to play games with me, I go by Claven X. But I already had a Twitch thing there, so I'm gonna try to stream it to both of these. So yeah, you can join me on there. I'll leave links to both of these in the description of this video. And you can see I already have them scheduled on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so you should be able to see the schedule too. I'm kind of excited about that. Kind of excited. We'll see how it goes, how people like it. Hopefully it's helpful. I know we have a couple plans. Like, everybody wants timestamps on these news, and so one of the things we're going to do is we're going to build an AI to make timestamps on YouTube videos, live videos. So I think that it could actually help YouTube creators. We're going to have to make it general purpose for a lot of YouTube. It's going to have to like try to understand the content from the live stream and make timestamps for it. So that's what we're going to try to do. Now we can do it without AI, and we can actually make a non-general purpose. So basically one that just works for mine. We can do it with the Stream Deck and things like that, where, you know, when I switch to a different thing like I do like this, it automatically makes like a text file with the timestamp. So we could do something lame like that, but I think it would be fun to at least try to do something that just takes the recorded video and builds it for us, and maybe even allows it to automatically clip. So, I pronounce it Claven. I think the Europeans I know pronounce it Claven. So it's not going to hurt me one way or another. It's a made-up name. I used to go by Church, and then like Red versus Blue came out, and then I decided not to go by that name. So that's the history of Merrick's gamer tag. I'm just going to let you guys dox me really easily. I'm giving way too much personal information out here. All right. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah. Join me if you like. We'll work on my database a little bit because I got to do a new episode. I already know what we're doing for the next episode of the database. Got to do that. I have another Kubernetes episode. We got to do that. We got to write the code. We got to understand it and go through it so that I can make a good video. We got to make the AI for that. We actually have a lot of projects to do, so we won't run out of stuff. All right, on to the underrated projects for the week. Now remember, next week we are doing, actually let me make a channel for that, or a thing in Discord for you to put your most pivotal projects for next year. 2023's most pivotal open source projects. So make sure to go into the Discord and leave that there, or leave a comment on this video, or tweet it at me. All right. And let me make that a thread. Done. All right. So let's jump into it. I'm not giving you my mother's maiden name or my first pet's name. Not happening. Not happening. All right. Nice try. Nice try. You're going to have to be just a little sneakier. All right. I think that this is a underrated project. I know it's Java. I know I like to hate on Java. But traffic server is really fast and extendable. It was donated by Yahoo to the Apache Foundation. And I know that it's really, really fast. So scales well on modern hardware, handling tens of thousands of requests per second. So it is really just a really great caching proxy server. So I think it's underrated. I really do. And I don't say that about many Java projects, trust me. So I think they did a good job on this. I think it's underrated. I think it's been overshadowed by, there's a lot of things in this space, to be honest. So yeah. Another one that I find to be underrated, and it's hard because Git is so dominant. Git is so dominant, and that's not a bad thing. I love Git, but Fossil is pretty cool, and it's definitely worth a look if you're wanting to work with a small team. Fossil brings project management and source code together. It's a little weird, and I've only played around with it, but I do think that it's underrated for what it does. I think that it's overshadowed by the fact that everyone uses Git. So I definitely think that that it's a little underrated. That it's a little underrated, and definitely something to check out if you're interested in that. I almost put Mercurial in this list here as well, but I didn't. I think it's underrated. I love Mercurial, but yeah, the world has spoken. We use Git. The last thing I came up with that I think is maybe underrated is Strongbox. Now, I think you should update the streaming links in your YouTube's About page. I will check that out. I will make sure that those are up to date. I've been going through and trying to make sure, like, I got this branded. So, like, if you go here, it's pretty branded. And I got these links all updated. So I will go through, and I think my YouTube channel just links to this, Engineering with Merrick. Stupid name. I'm horrible at naming. Like, absolutely horrible at naming, but I'll go through and make sure. I'm going to try to do restream and stream to both for people that just like to be on YouTube. We'll see. Anyways, Strongbox. Strongbox, I think, is another underrated thing, or just known about. It's a modern open source artifact repository manager. So think Artifactory. It's an open source Artifactory. And right now, it provides native implementations for various formats like native Maven, NPM, NuGet, and Raw. So it's really awesome. So if you're needing to make a private repository for artifacts, you can do it. So unfortunately, it is written in Java. A lot of stuff is written in Java. So I say unfortunately. These people are fantastic. I'm not hating on them at all. It's hard for me to get into a project like this and help out because, yeah, it's just hard. All right, this was brought up. I found this one to be quite hilarious because the community brought this one up, Visual Studio Code LLDB, and it's literally in my first episode of Rest that you will see tomorrow. I find that this extension is fantastic for low-level debugging of Rust. Now, you don't need it initially, but I have the people go ahead and install it alongside the language server because it really does bring some really fantastic debugging support into Visual Studio Code. It's not just for Rust. It does all low language levels, all compiled languages. It definitely works on C and C++. I think in theory it would also work in Go because Go is compiled even though it has a garbage collector. I don't know how it would work in Go because it does have that garbage collector, which would be a little bit weird, but I'm a fan of weird, so we should probably try it out on Go. It probably doesn't work. Probably doesn't work. And that's it. that's it for today. I knew it was going to be short. There wasn't a whole lot going on. There was a lot going on in life, but not a whole lot going on in the software world. It's usually very dead over the last week. So join me Tuesday afternoon or evenings. It's really Tuesday evenings, 8 p.m. for me. I'll try to find a time for an earlier stream. Maybe I do one before work for the European people. Or maybe I do it on a Saturday for 2 hours. We'll see how that plays out. I'm going to do those 2 days first, see how I like it. Streaming is tiring for me. I try to prepare for it. But I'm going to try to also make these a little bit more casual, a little bit more just talk about whatever. If we get sidetracked on something, we'll get sidetracked on it and it will be fine. So hopefully it won't be as draining as some of the other stuff. And we'll have fun doing it. And we'll do projects. I know that I have a lot of projects to do. So I have so much stuff. We'll do what's the most interesting or what will be the most useful at the time. I think the first thing that I really want to work on is my Rust lessons and our AI for putting timestamps on these. This is literally the thing I get asked most about for the news. Please get timestamps on it. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I hope that you have a fantastic week. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you made it this far and you don't mind dropping me a like, I would super appreciate it. Remember, let me know what you think the most pivotal software for 2023 is going to be. Hopefully that video comes out before January ends. That's kind of my goal. And I'll see you next week.